Let me bring in Emily. Emily, apparently we're snowflakes if we're offended by Joe Biden calling 80 million Americans garbage. I don't think that's snowflakery. I mean, I do remember for the last 3 days, all I've heard is Democrats screaming.
You're all ignoring all the things Trump has said.
No,
you guys are so nuts.
Cenk, if I just say, I'll come back to you,
Trump is the most vicious politician.
Emily Austin is about to school the entire panel here on Piers Morgan's show. Well, besides Ben Ferguson, who is a person that's basically in agreement with her, but Cenk Uygur and Wajid Ali are about to be blown out of the water. I really enjoyed this one. I think you guys will too. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Of our lifetime.
The way Democrats,
he's like purist and driven snow.
Wait a second. The way Democrats have pivoted. Hang on. The way Democrats have pivoted in the last 3 days from garbage is the worst slur imaginable to just because Joe Biden calls 80 million Americans garbage, suddenly, why are you getting so offended? Is laughable. Emily, to you.
Okay, let me make something clear. The Republicans are not snowflakes, and since Biden called the Americans who support Trump garbage, all I've seen on X are memes of people going to vote now in garbage bags, memes of people putting trash cans on the street and saying it's a family portrait. Republicans are not snowflakes, and truth be told, I don't think anyone's offended because, yes, our sitting president, who has nuclear codes, is a senile old man that, let me remind everyone, Kamala literally 2.5 months ago was endorsing him and reminding everyone that he is sharp as a tack. But here's the issue. It doesn't speak to the Republicans. It's showing the American people, despite Harris Walz claiming they're the party of unity and they're for everyone, and yes, Harris is a continuation of Biden, who's failed as a president, they claim to try to unite everyone. But then the sitting president goes out and says, oh, you all are garbage. We don't care what he says. He's delusional. But it speaks to their character, it speaks to their party, and it speaks to their values. And that is a problem that they're showing the American people their true colors. Republicans don't care. Call us garbage.
How about
call
your
us deplorables. We just want our president in office.
Okay,
Vajra,
I mean, look,
how about
I think
values?
Whatever. Hang on,
Trump
Cenk,
does
I'll come
is
back
attack
to you.
us
No, Cenk,
8,000 times, and you
We don't call
totally
you
ignore
Hitler.
that.
We don't call you Hitler. We don't say should we go to camps for re-education.
He's called us every name of the book.
Hang on, we're coming to Hitler.
He's called us Marxists.
We're coming to Hitler. We're coming to Hitler, which is now only the second most offensive thing of the week. Vajra, from a political point of view, the stupidity of what Biden did can't be overstated, really, because Kamala Harris, I watched it last night. Look, I think she talks a lot of word salad nonsense. Honestly, I do. She wouldn't inspire me to open a crisp packet, let alone vote for her. However, she's the Democrat nominee. The polls are absolutely neck and neck, particularly in the swing states. The very last thing she would have wanted when she's presented her final argument to the nation is for Joe Biden, the guy she's replaced, who's still her president, to pop up on a Skype call of all things and say this kind of thing, which, whether it's been misinterpreted or not, and I don't think it has been, it's just such a gift to Republicans, isn't it?
This is me playing the world's smallest violin for all the fake outrage of MAGA and Trump supporters, who I believe are the most fickle, brittle, weak people on earth, who can dispense cruelty and demand civility, who hate safe spaces for everyone, want safe spaces for themselves, and who, by the way, with this hypocritical fake outrage, the reason why I don't think most people will care is because people know what Trump is for the past 9 years. And just yesterday, Donald Trump, who is running for president, Joe Biden is not, and Joe Biden, he's 81 years old, he has a stutter, and by the way, I appreciate the context that he gave. I don't think he needed to, but he did. Donald Trump yesterday, final pitch to the country. You know what he called America? A garbage can. Donald Trump said all of us, 340 million Americans, live in a garbage can.
This dude's Trump derangement syndrome is so pathetic. I can't believe that he's literally doing this right now. It was Joe Biden who called half of America, all Trump supporters, garbage, much like Hillary Clinton called us a basket of deplorables, and, the left mainstream media and everybody in leadership on the left, it seems like, has basically been calling Trump a Nazi, and anybody that likes Trump, Nazis as well, has been calling Trump Hitler and all his supporters Nazis and any kind of ist or phobe that you can for the last 8 years. And it's become completely obvious that this is exactly what the Democrat tactic is nowadays, and that is to accuse your enemies, because anybody that's not a Democrat or a Democratic voter to a Democrat from a Democrat perspective is their enemy, although I would argue that people on the America First side believe that we're not enemies. We would more be like a foe, or just like a sports scenario, you know what I mean, rivals essentially, and that we're all essentially on the same side as Americans, and that we should want Americans' lives to come first. But no, that's not how it applies to Democrats. And here he is doing the Democrat thing and accusing their enemies of doing exactly what they just did. As we see here that Joe Biden called half of America trash, or garbage, I should say. And here Wadjet is claiming that Donald Trump is the one that said America is garbage. It's just completely insane. It's a straight up lie. And, I think everybody, even Cenk Uygur, should call him out for this. But, Cenk is on this guy's team, so he's not. I mean, Cenk says that he argues for the truth, but, he's going to let this one slide.
Yes, he did. Yesterday in his speech, he said America is a garbage can. Yesterday, Donald Trump said Democrats, where the majority, are sick and evil people. Yesterday, folks, Donald Trump, when confronted with these offensive comments,
if you talk about context,
let me finish, Ben. Don't gish gallop. Ben, I'm about to kick your ass. Don't gish gallop. Just listen to me. I listen to you.
Dude, you're like $1.20, and this is what liberals do. Okay. I laugh this.
Just let me listen. I'm going to do it with a smile on my face.
Hang on. Calm down.
I'm going to beat you up.
Don't talk over each other because people can't hear. But I do really. Hang on. I do want to see. Hang on. Hang on, Ben. Hang on. I do want to see Vajjahat try and kick Ben Ferguson's ass. So off you go, Vajjahat.
Not going to happen.
All right. I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. I'm going to do it relaxed. Yesterday, when Donald Trump was confronted with, I'm glad you and Ben and Piers agree that it was horrific, disgusting comments against Puerto Rico, black people, against Jews, against Palestinians, against women, which, by the way, have rallied Puerto Ricans all across America. You know what Donald Trump said? No big deal. Yesterday, this past week, J.D. Vance said, get over it. J.D. Vance, his vice president, is the one who called him Hitler. By the way, guess who said that Donald Trump praises Hitler? Four-star General John Kelly, just in the past 2 weeks. In the final 2 weeks of his campaign to unify America, you know what Donald Trump said? That the people who are against him are enemy of the people, another Hitler line, and he said he would unleash the military and the National Guard against U.S. citizens. Against immigrants and migrants, he said he will invoke the Alien Sedition Act that in turn Japanese Americans. This is the same man who ran against the same man who promoted a neo-Nazi conspiracy about Haitian immigrants eating pets, even after he was told it was a lie. The Wall Street Journal, funded by Murdoch, not a left-wing rag, a right-wing outlet, reported that him and Vance were told it was a lie. He still said it, which has caused stochastic terrorism in Springfield, Ohio.
When Donald Trump claimed that the Haitian migrants, Haitian immigrants, whatever they are, were eating the cats and dogs, that was an example to me of Donald Trump listening to the citizens, the American citizens of the town who are making those claims. Wadjet here basically said it was a neo-Nazi propaganda that caused stochastic terrorism. Are you serious, dude? I mean, that's just an example right there. That gives away or takes away all the credit that this guy claims to have with his statements. He basically just ran through a memorized list of things that the mainstream media has been running with, trying to use against Trump for the last couple months. And, he just has it memorized. It comes out and it sounds smart, and he lists 15 things where, you can't counter every single one of those things unless you have all day. So they get to just say it. And Cenk is an expert at this too, with the framing. They just get to say it, and it doesn't get countered or anything like that, right? Because, they just don't have the time.
So this is Donald Trump. The majority of people don't care. The majority of people know Biden apologized, he stuttered, and the majority of people saw Kamala Harris at the ellipse. 75,000 people came. You saw the last point. Last point I'll make. 75,000 people came out to see Kamala Harris at the ellipse. I'm so glad she was at the ellipse, because you know why? It's a contrast. Kamala Harris was there for the Constitution, for the United States of America, for the rule of law. Donald Trump incited a violent insurrection. And just 2 weeks ago at Univision, when the 56-year-old Latino construction worker asked him to apologize for it, he didn't. And you saw that view of those Latino women. He is going to lose. I'm here for the MAGA tears. They're sugar for my chai.
Okay. He said for the MAGA tears, Ben. Are you prepared to start crying?
I go back to, and this is why I feel like it's going to be a very strong election night. There's nothing that was just talked about that matters to the people that are hurting and suffering in this country right now. Nothing that was just said there was
Unleashing the
unifying.
military?
Nothing that was just said there was about the concerns of people that are struggling in this country with inflation, with illegal immigration, with convicted terrorists coming across the border, with those that are convicted of murder and rape that are coming across the border. There is zero concern for the American people in your closing argument. And this is the reason why Donald Trump will win on election night.
Ben, do you
because when
agree?
your only thing
Do you
you
agree
can
with
do
Donald
and come
Trump?
out and say is, if I disagree with you, I'm going to kick your ass, which, by the way, goes back to what you guys do.
No,
We don't
no,
like you,
Ben-
we lock you up. We imprison you. We put you in prison.
do you
we
agree-
come after
do you agree with
lawfare.
Donald Trump?
And then you're
Yeah.
like, I don't like, I'm going to kick your ass. Like, this is your closing argument. You guys need to, like, get out of junior
I
high
wasn't the
and do
one.
better for the
I
American
didn't
people.
participate in a violent insurrection, Ben. I didn't
Neither did
participate
I,
in a
and I
violent
denounced
insurrection.
it when it
MAGA
happened.
people
So
did.
guess what? We're not all. See, this
Do
is
you-
the difference.
okay, wait,
you
do-
guys hate half of America, and you don't understand that your hatred is
Piers, can I say
saying
something?
everyone is bad when one person
Yeah,
or two people do
let's
something
let
like
Emily
this.
say
Donald
something.
Trump hates
Hang
all
on.
of America.
Gentlemen, let's let the lady speak. Emily?
Please,
Thank you,
please.
boys. The problem is that I think the Democratic Party, they're way too emotional about this election. And it's funny that Wajat's
they're
calling
losing.
the MAGA people the sensitive ones when you cry over misgendering someone, when a dude looks like a dude and identifies as a woman and is called she, you start crying. So don't talk to me about oversensitivity. That's a definition of the Democratic Party.
Yes,
You don't
homophobia
have
and
to like
yes,
Donald
go after the
Trump.
transgenders.
You guys have TDS syndrome. You don't understand that this is not about emotions. Ben just said it perfectly. Every single argument that the left uses against the right are not real factors that impact the American people. They're not factors that keep America safe. It's nothing that helps the economy. You focus solely on how does Trump make me feel when I go to sleep at night. He doesn't like women. He made a joke about a black person and a Jew and a Muslim and a Christian. Listen to me, that comedian, you guys are pretending suddenly everyone cares about Puerto Rico, but when they were after a hurricane, no one gave a damn about them. But let's just forget that for a moment. This comedian makes fun of everyone. So talk about selective outrage. That joke caused selective outrage because he literally rips every demographic of people. And let me tell you the difference. This comedian is not our sitting president. When the sitting president calls half of America garbage,
Bingo.
that's a bigger problem than a comedian who rips every group of people speaking at a rally. Do me a favor, selective outrage. You guys can't stop crying nonstop about your TDS.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the point about
Donald
Tony
Trump-
Hinchcliffe is, hang on. The point about Tony Hinchcliffe, if you watch the Netflix Tom Brady roast special, he is the star of that roast. He says stuff that makes what he said at the Madison Square Garden seem like a tea party. I mean, he is an offensive roaster of absolutely everyone and everything. And nobody seemed to mind when he was doing it in a Netflix special, which is still available.
They loved
Tom Brady's roasting. Everyone found him hilarious. And my point to you, Cenk,
Did it fit
would
any
be that
political agenda?
Jon Stewart, of all people, came forward and said, I'm sorry, I find this guy funny. And I wonder how many of the people screaming about Tony Hinchcliffe's jokes quietly found him quite funny. I didn't particularly, but a lot of people would have found his humor funny if they know he's a roaster. But I'm feigning outrage. And then the moment Biden, who is the president of the United States, uses exactly the same word to slur 80 million Americans, suddenly we should all stop being offended. You can't have it both ways.
That was really well said by Piers Morgan there at the end. Although, I don't agree with him all the time. He definitely hit the nail on the head with a hammer when it comes to Tony Hinchcliffe. And, I'll tell you personally, when I heard the joke, I didn't think it was funny. And I thought that it was kind of in bad taste with just is timing wise, right? Because we know that the left mainstream media, look at how Cenk and Wajat have responded just in this video to the comedian making the joke about Puerto Rico being a floating pile of garbage or whatever. And it might have helped if they had introduced Tony Hinchcliffe as a roasting comedian, because then it kind of sets the stage and prepares people for what they're about to hear. But, that joke, everything that came negative from it, from the mainstream media, actually turned out to be beneficial, because when Joe Biden came out and called all of the Trump supporters in the country garbage, which, now the White House is basically releasing a transcript claiming that that's not what he meant, but we all heard it, right? We all heard it. Now that Joe Biden has called half the country garbage, probably more than half the country now at this point, at least in my opinion. I feel like Donald Trump has a lot more support than he did even in his second election there in 2020, when he got the most votes for an incumbent president in history. Because that Biden quote basically exposed the left once again for their hypocrisy, and it gave the people on the right an opportunity to show that they have a sense of humor. Like Emily Austin said there, folks are showing up to vote in trash bags and taking pictures with their trash cans. And I saw a funny meme the other day where it said MAGA supporter attacks little kid, and it was this young dude pushing a trash can against the wind, and the lid flipped over and hit him in the head. And it's just funny, right? It creates this whole new scenario of comedy. And frankly, I think Tony Hinchcliffe has, doubled his popularity based on that joke. So, I mean, good for him. I'm going to check out more of his stuff now, just because I like roasting comedians. I like comedians in general, just to be honest. But one thing that wasn't mentioned here is George Lopez just the other day made a joke about building the wall. And he said something about, if you're going to build a wall, you better build it in one day, because if you leave those materials out overnight, and then he cut it off. But everybody laughed because they knew what he was insinuating, which was that the materials will be stolen overnight by the Hispanic population, essentially. That's what his joke was. So, the things that the Democratic media, the Democratic, party will excuse versus the things that they condemn, they don't match up. And it just proves that they have no morals, they have no principles. And really, they're just a bunch of tribal brainwashed morons, in my opinions. I think I'll wrap up there. I want to ask you guys that if you are an America First type individual, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Show me a little bit of support. There's a bunch of Democrats out there with way more subscribers and a bigger audience than I do. And, let's show them a thing or two by supporting somebody that actually loves this country and loves all Americans. And so, like I said, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video. And also, I'll remind you that I go live every Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Come join me there. The Jar Opener. It's called the Jar Openers Podcast. We have a good time for a couple hours every Saturday. So, come join in, have a conversation. I love to see you there. And if I don't see you there, I'll see you guys in the next video. And thank you for watching. And I'll see you later.